Right, evening, folks. It's the continuation of the tidying. I actually get to a point where I'm starting to empty one of the plastic tubs. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's just onto the sides. Been a bit of a slow day today. Had a bit of weather. Managed to get rid of some of the things that were on the side from tidying up yesterday. So the only thing left on there is a few jars which I've emptied today. Took those off one of the boards, and the jars have gone from there, and two spare containers that I had, one over there and one tucked down at the back, are now up there, and the jars that were underneath there are now all empty. So they're going in the recycling tomorrow. So now I've got to think about threads, polishing. Polishing. I have a drawer for grinding and polishing. So these, and I made some space in there. So grinding and polishing, they're away. So then I've got tape to deal with. So I've got some specialty tapes, the kind of tapes that you need on a regular basis. Some other tapes up here as well. So I've been debating trying to generate some space in one of the drawers, the chest of drawers. Hi, Wayne. So chest of drawers down here. One of these drawers, the top one, is tools. I'm kind of hoping I can generate some space in there into which I can put tapes that I don't need on a regular basis. And then I'm thinking of making some sort of holder. Maybe something along the lines of or something like that, so that tape can sit in there and then just easy to grab. My wife did suggest something like a kitchen roll holder like that, but I don't like that for tape, because then if you want the bottom one, you've got to take all the other ones off. And unlike the wire holder, which I've got over here, where I just pull some, cut off, that's fine, but you can't do that with tape. So that's a suggestion that's not going to go anywhere. I've also got kind of oils and greases which I need to find a place for. But I've also been emptying, kind of just by reconsolidation, some of the little drawers like this. And so I'm toying with the idea of taking my screws from over here in their original boxes and putting them into Racco drawers over there, which might work quite nicely, except when I want to go and do a job elsewhere, a Racco drawer is possible to tip. Although now I've got a 3D printer, when I get that working, maybe I can make little clip-on lids that can go on those, or I just have some pots to tip them into, and I can just tip back the spare ones after. And so if I do that, that could clear space for tapes over here, and also space for, well, maybe not. It's always a case of thinking, what do I want where? So I'm trying to make some decisions tonight that I can either do tonight or can do quickly tomorrow, so that hopefully tomorrow afternoon, after getting through some things. Oh, I wish it was a TARDIS. I really do wish it was a TARDIS. I have got a lot of stuff crammed in here, and people who come and visit kind of get amazed about how much stuff is. Well, actually, one of the best things anyone said recently is my wife came in this afternoon. She'd been out most of the day, and she hasn't been in here for several days. And she came in just to say she was back and said, wow, how much space there is. And she likes to say that because it's her idea to put the door opening outwards rather than inwards, and she thinks that's a marvelous idea, of course. So, which it is. So much dust everywhere as well still. I'm also toying with the idea. I've got an old roller blind. I've been toying with the idea of finding a way of mounting it maybe across here so that I could roll it down. So if I was doing something and I didn't want the back all in view, then that's covered over. But I'm not sure about that one yet either. I'm still debating CD player up here, which to be honest I haven't used in a fair while, because I tend to either listen, watch YouTube on the computer or podcasts through my phone. At the moment I'm behind on podcasts, so it's a bit of me thinks get rid of it. But I've had that CD player, and it's a good quality one for a long time, and I do like listening to my music every now and again. Doesn't help that actually the music's all in the house waiting to be sorted. I'm also going to think about the mounting of my extension cord for the compressor. And a little bit of me is thinking, can I mount it almost underneath? But better off having it high up. So that's something, but it's difficult. So I may have to, again, that's won't be a quick think on that one. I have consolidated a lot of nuts and bolts. It's quite interesting how many different places I had sort of different things. I've still got a few tubs that are empty. I've got a few trays that I want to reorganize, and that might be quite a useful thing to do with, particularly like with the Racco boxes, because there are some of those Racco boxes I dip into really quite often. And yeah, I've got other things like these are like 5mm jack plugs, the sort of things you put for stereo connections. So I've got a bunch of those, and that's the kind of thing I'm not going to dip into on a frequent basis, but it was a convenient place to store them at some point. So actually putting screws in there is something I'm quite tempted to try and do. Because what I'm trying to do is second guess how I might want to change things in or make use of things in the next few years, because I don't want to do this process again. It's been dragging on now since January, and it's been important. But I'm trying to get the Tinkerage to a point where I can get in here on a regular basis, making things on a regular basis, trying new things without hassle, with everything's got its place. But I do need to think about whether some things need a home here. This, for example, is a beautiful piece of equipment. It's been thrown out of a school many years ago. Nice heavy cast iron base, flexible brass with about an 8mm hole in there with a little screw. And it's beautiful for kind of holding things. Needs a bit of adapting. Oh, that's a shorter one. Yeah. So I just found a latch, and I just bought a latch last week to replace the one on the door, but it's actually a shorter one, so it wouldn't have been any use anyway. That needs to go up with the locks and then handles. I almost had a bit of a fright when I came in a short while ago. I've got the mouse actually sitting on top of the 3D printer at the moment, and just as I was opening up a page on the computer, something fell down just a few inches in front. So I had a little look, couldn't see anything. So I get my torch out and I'm having a little trying to peer underneath the 3D printer, and then out comes this spider about 1.5 inches across with its legs. And so I took a photograph and it ran away. I've got an entire box just full of old locks and lock mechanisms. One of the project ideas I've got. Hi James, hi Duncan. Well, I'm thinking that, James, yeah, the constant evolution. I was thinking Chris from, I think, Maker38 on Instagram, saying how he bought one of the little Japanese saws. I was thinking I might, for the price of them, I might get one. Cause I do quite like a pull saw as opposed to a push saw. And it's got quite a thin curve. And of course, if I get that, I'm thinking, where am I going to put it? I suppose I could mount it on one of the panels over here. Although it's got to be a good 2 feet long. So I think he said the handle is about 11 inches. The blade's 12 inches. So finding a place for that could be interesting. I've still got to find a place for this multi-tool sitting on the floor at the moment, but I picked up at the car boot sale on Sunday. I haven't decided yet whether to keep it in its case or whether to take it out of its case. Just put the case up in the loft. It's when you lose things. I'm sure I've got, these are hacksaw blades, and I'm sure that somewhere I've got a box with hacksaw blades in. Yes, I'm not sure whether to take the multi-tool out of its case. Hi Carl. Or whether to have it kind of handy so I can grab it, or whether to have it it's still in its case and just be able to grab the case. The only other tool I've got in its case is my DeWalt 1/2 inch router. Hi Dale. I've got another case, which is again actually another DeWalt router case with my angle grinders and angle grinder accessories in. And I've got another case which has got old spanners, like kind of 60, 70-year-old spanners. Some interesting old imperial sizes. Plus those odd spanners. You get the ones you get for kind of doing the seals on toilets. Yeah, they're huge. I totally get you. I do love old tools. I could get into collecting old tools on a big scale if I had the space and the money. I mean, I quite like these ones I bought the other day from car boot sale. Yeah, a 4-inch backhoe wrench. Quite like small tools as well. Oops. Get a bit of lag. I don't know if that's my computer. So, backhoe, Swedish 4-inch wrench. Needs a bit of a clean. There's a couple of little burrs on the edge of the jaws, which I'll clean off. And this tiny little one. I can't make out all of the writing. Something like Rand or Roger Minor, Birmingham. And there's a mark on the back, but it's too crudded up. It's a beautiful little mechanism. And then there's this. Now this intrigued me. It reminded me almost like a lobster claw. And it's I think fairly obviously been self-modified. The guy I was talking to, who is probably a good 20 years older than me, was saying that his grandfather had been a machinist, and he thinks it was his grandfather that had made them. Obviously for some sort of, almost like sort of the C-nuts you get on kind of wrenches and bikes. And when I cleaned it up a little bit when I got home, I quite liked the shape because it was like that, yeah, like the hand tool rescue kind of ones he makes. And I don't have a wrench like that. And I thought, I got the 3 wrenches and 2 sets of needle files for £5. I mean, this is almost entirely seized up. There's about a half a turn on the wrench. But I gave it a wipe over with some WD-40 on a cloth. And King Dick, don't think it will show on there. It's probably not good enough light. Let's get a torch out. Oh, thank you, James. Yeah. There we go. It's King Dick. So I'm going to, might make a video of it. I'll take those off. I've already checked. They're quite loose. But this is, like I said, there's half a turn of play on there, but then it's stuck. So it needs a good soak. So that will that'll make a nice little project, a nice little video. And after finding that, I'm quite tempted to try and get to another car boot sale on the weekend and see what I can find. So yeah, I quite like little tools like that. Yeah, found a few. I've got a few little tools. I've got old tools. I've got, yeah. So I've got this 8-inch record Stilson, and yeah, that's what I remember my dad using, and it's still in pretty good nick considering its age. I've got a few other kind of, some that aren't in quite such good nick. Yeah, a bit like a circlip. See, a couple of people on Instagram sort of suggested what it might be for. It's certainly purpose made. What's it? They're not. It's not brass. The extensions. Not sure exactly. They look like a steel. Don't know if they're magnetic. Yeah, they're magnetic. So it's definitely not brass. They've got some numbers on them, and it's different numbers. And that's quite interesting. There's a number on the top here, and the same number is on the bottom on the other one on the other side. And similarly, there's a different number on the bottom on that side, and it's repeated on the other side of that one there. Harpic Power Plus. Not thought of that. We've got we buy white vinegar by the sort of 5 litres. Actually, we buy it 20 litres at a time. 4 or 5 litres, cheapest way of buying it. We use it for descaling. And so I was going to try just getting it a soak in that for a little while. Well, I might start with some WD-40. See how that works out. I'll try to work out if I can find the container. Yes, there it is. Tucked away at the back. Hacksaw blades. Some cordless saw blade in there as well. Yeah, imagine it. Is it sodium hydroxide based? Oh, vinegar. Yeah, vinegar's it's good stuff. It's interesting, isn't it? How it'll take scale off, it'll take rust off. Yeah, you quite happily put your hands in it, at least for a short period of time, without too much hassle, as opposed to some of the drain cleaners and things, which you don't want to get on your hands at all. And you can put on your chips. Yeah, got me a chips tonight. Chip shop chips. And some chip shop fish. The spare solder pump, which just fallen apart. That's me as well. Yeah, that'll be why I've repaired it once. So spare solder pump. Here's a felt lot of use. I suppose I could glue that in one piece, or I could find some other use for that. Very good for launching things. Yeah, hydrochloric acid, good stuff. I can remember the first time I ever came across hydrochloric acid outside of the school labs. It was when I was a scout, and I joined I joined the scout group, and it was in a big old building, got condemned. It was 3 or 4 floors, and in the basement, a lot of sort of camping stuff was stored in the basement, and a few of us were sent down to get something or take something down to the basement store. And there was this great big brown Winchester with no label on it, or the label was kind of dirty and dusty, and took the top off it, and just out came fumes, and it was very concentrated hydrochloric acid. I mean, it was a steelworks town, so I'm sure there were people in the steelworks that were getting hold of some. There were some pretty nasty chemicals being used by them. Ah, my spider's back. See my spider? It's come to visit. Down there on the desk, that little brown thing here. There he goes. I don't mind spiders too much, so I'm not crawling over me. Where Form 1 were last put? Huh? That one doesn't make sense to me, Dale. Alright, where am I going to put this? Actually, no, I've got a bit of space now. They're back there. So that can now live at the back. Yeah, we're talking of old tools. Talking of old tools, I've got a stack of old tools back in this corner over here. That were all my dad's. But one of the projects I've got lined up, I want to make like a deep shadow box and put the tools in them. I've got a rapid and apparently doesn't like me moving too much. I stand really still, maybe that will help. Yeah, that seems to be better. So I have used this now and again. It could do with being taken apart and tidied up. But it always looked like this. I don't ever remember it being brighter. Right, that doesn't belong there. I'm going to find a new home for that. Big hammer needs a new home. Brace and bit, or just the brace. It's amazing how it looks like I'm freezing up again. So this is quite stiff, but a more modern one. I believe, and there's no one to correct me anymore, this was possibly my grandfather's. It's certainly old enough. It's a little bit rustier than when I was a kid. Got a bit to go with it. This is a beautiful old screwdriver. I'll try closing those other tabs, and that might help. Yeah, I'm getting that unstable connection message again. Oh, and we're back. There is some markings on. Little trowel. This is a terrible. And that's had a lot of use. Raybone folding rule. It's quite interesting the difference of the numbers and the state. Broke, and my dad cut it off. Only feet and inches. Yardstick. Plastic or wood, which? And right, the WD-40, I think. Give that a wipe down. Oh yeah, it's boxwood. It's proper box. It's again, I can remember all these tools are ones that I can remember. I'll be 49 this year. I can certainly, 40 years ago, remember them. None of them were bought. Chatwin 10. Oh, is that a 10? Might be a 10. Yeah, it's 10 inches, so yeah, 10-inch Delsons. What else have I got hiding here? That'll crossbeam hammer. Had quite a few years. Handle still feels nice though. Another one of his so not comfortable to use compared to a modern screwdriver. His spirit level. This was another one that was so it's a piece. Used that for a long time as my Bradle. Then my father-in-law gave me that one, which is better in many ways. Oh, MVQ. Good luck. Just document everything. It's the important thing with MVQs. This is the beauty of kind of old stuff. This is a little screwdriver. My dad had this little lead in it. I'm freezing up again. I remember that one had gone missing and he'd replaced it with another ball. No, it's on. It's one of these plug-in extensions. Yeah, I've got a plug next to my router in the house. Then using the kind of mains, there's another plug in here, which is an Ethernet in the computer's quite. I'm frozen in space and time again. Let's make a note. I was looking into doing that. Okay. I guess I'll need to find the router address. But this little screwdriver is supposedly it's made in England, and then the other writing on it is 5,000 volts. Now with a bare shaft, I wouldn't want to stick that anywhere near 5,000 volts. Right, I've almost got that corner cleared. I'm trying to clear this corner so that I can actually vacuum in there because it is in a terrible, terrible state. Oh, and one very stiff and sticky brush. I've got a couple of oil cans. This one's a Royal Enfield. I don't know what this one is. Where'd that rag go? Yeah, so that's part of the problem. Not sure how much more I'm going to do tonight. I've got things to put away now. And I've got to make decisions about the tape. I'm hoping that the weather will be good enough tomorrow that I can get Mighty Saw outside, save me having to do stuff by hand. I'm also hoping to do the review on that tomorrow. And I've got to find a place for my big hammer. The feed, that's good. Yeah, not sure why. Sometimes the connection in here is very good. I can't use Wi-Fi out here. Through there is our utility, and that's, I dry lined it, but I used because of the size of the space, because of what we want to fit in, rather than putting really thick foam insulation in, I used almost like that foil covered bubble wrap, and so the signal in there is okay if you've got your phone right next to the door, but it completely blocked the signal coming through into here. So sometimes I get, if I stand out on the patio, I get about half a signal. Yeah, that's the stuff. Yeah, Superfoil. But in here, it's just completely zero Wi-Fi. So the network, mains powered network cable, was a way of getting Ethernet into here, and I can then run my, because I've got a Wi-Fi built into the computer, I can then actually run that, and that covers then what I'm in here. A garden actually is not too bad. It'll actually pick up, I can pick up Wi-Fi in the garden, and because I'm on Virgin, I've got the Virgin app that allows you to pick up Wi-Fi from other people's Virgin apps if you kind of walk around. So I find when I'm walking around the village, every now and again my phone just pings and I get a pile of messages, which is very, very useful. Saves a pile of data because I don't have a huge data package. It's not going to fit there. It used to hang on a hook there, but that's going to have to change. Yeah, that might do the job. Now let's go in there for the moment. Right, so scroll saw blade that's had its day. So that can go in the recycling. Got a big bag of metal recycling. I need to take that to there's a recycling place in town that apparently will take small amounts and pay you for it, rather than just taking it to the tip and losing, or somebody else getting the pay for it. And you give them the free materials. And things like this, I've got 2 spare soldering irons. Which do have different tips to my main soldering iron. Main soldering iron is a chisel tip. At some point I want to get a better quality soldering iron. Current ones I've got just standard plug and play. I'd like a temperature controlled one, and ideally with a few more watts, 18 watts and 15 watts. I don't do a lot of soldering at the moment. So they will get stored somewhere. I think they may go down to the bottom of the garden. It's a bit broken. So yeah, I've got to sort out my main. I'm hoping to spend most of the next 2 days just sorting out tools. I'm going to take this unit off the wall take the screwdrivers off the wall. I'm going to replace that unit. I want to make something that's wider, because I've got more screwdrivers to go in there. I've got a bunch of precision size torque picked up for a couple of pounds from Poundland. They're not the highest quality, but actually they should do for most things. Yeah, that's a T7, I've got a T5, T8, T9, T10, a T6. So I'd like to get those mounted. Along with other precision screwdrivers. And with space for a few more, just expansion. I've got a couple of other things that are a similar sort of shape. And there's things that can go in a holder like that as well, like scribes. Yeah, I think the loft is another idea actually for those. A watch party for good omens. Ah, yes. Yeah, I saw you post about that earlier. I think that was a nice touch, them leaving an empty space for Terry Pratchett. Nice little kind of, nice little sort of tribute. Putting his hat and scarf there as well. Okay, thanks for watching. That was, yeah, it was always quite sad how he went with Alzheimer's. I think for such a clever man. That's a disease. It's a horrible disease. It just robs people. Oh yeah, good night. Yeah. Right. This time 10:30. Near enough. I'm going to make decisions. Right, that needs to go down with those. Let's see if I've got any space in any of these miscellaneous. I've just taken out the 3 of these racket drawers have connecting posts, 4mm banana plug. I don't have any space in any of those ones. And it's there might be space in there. Just switches and relays. fairly sure I'm going to put the I've decided I'm going to put the screws into racket drawers up there, because that will make it so much easier. So I'm just going to see if I can make spaces for, I think I need 16 the current stock of screws, but I need obviously more availability than that. Ah, no, I did a thing for. But of course, what I might do is use small ones. I've already got space over here for small screws. There's no point having a large racket drawer for. Hi, Stephen. Hope you're well. How's the house refurb coming on? Problems I have with the racket drawers, they end up putting so much stuff in them you can't actually. Oh, is it like that? Yeah, I've been there with that. It's been a bit like that with this place a few times. Problem is, I try and make a bit of space one place and then end up with less space somewhere else. Alright, hoping that should be enough for that. Yep, so that's 4 empty. Standoffs. How many standoffs? I've got drawer after drawer of standoffs. Switches and connectors. I need a box for switches and connectors. Ah, connectors. I knew I had one somewhere. I was finding interesting when I find pieces and I think, why have I got that? Where did that come from? Hi, Andy. Fix it up as popped off now. He's organising a watch party for good omens. I'm sure that's going to fit in there. It has to fit in because I want it to. Not sure why that's not coming out of there. Trying to make it take up less space. I think so. I'm locked in. Just trying to find. Oh, table saw and bandsaw. Fantastic. Yeah, how's the dizzy spells? Are they subsiding yet? Saw a great, well, nice, quite interesting video yesterday. And if you come across, hi Chris. You forgot about me. If you've come across the channel called The Smuggler's Room, it's a guy who's building out his workshop to look like a spaceship. Very much into prop making. And he did an episode yesterday looking at the humble Greebly. It's really quite fascinating what he's got, and I thought, not quite on his scale, but I'm sure he would love to come and have a poke around in the Tinkerage, because some of the inherited a few years ago a stack of electronics. A lot of it was vintage stuff. I was going to get thrown out. I might talk a little bit more about it actually on Sunday when I'm on the podcast. Going to be on Makers International on Sunday, talking about education, making, and what education is doing for making or not. I picked up those electronics. Oh, dizzy! That's not good. Andy, have they ruled out labyrinthitis, or however it's pronounced? Well, labyrinthitis. We had the vicar that was in the village when we first moved in. He ended up with labyrinthitis, and he was told it could affect him for many months. He kept falling off his bike. I've got used to work with a colleague who had many keeps in control with drugs when it kind of flares up. You should become a comedian, Stephen. Second or third career. Notice you had your helmets. You got yourself a welding helmet. Looks a nice one. Looks a bit nicer than my one from Aldi. It's turn of Disney. My youngest was looking for. She needs a new. She's kind of running out of jumpers at the moment. Growing. What, your one with all painted the kind of flashy colours? Was that an Aldi one? It didn't look like an Aldi one. Or have you got a sort of a second one? So they only had 2 left when I was in Aldi, and they were both kind of just plain black ones. Because flames would be cool. Yeah, my youngest was looking at hoodies online, and she found one. She's a big Harry Potter fan and said, "I don't want to be a Disney princess. I want to be Hermione." 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 down. Any more connectors? Right, I need to move that because that's in the way. A bit odd. Right, they're not connectors. More connectors. Wolverine. Talking of Wolverine, do you listen to podcasts? If you listen to podcasts, there's a new. There's the second season of. Let me find it. Come on. Marvel there's a 2 podcast series. One's complete. The second one started today. The first one was called Wolverine: The Long Night. It was a 10-chapter, kind of 35 to 45 minutes per episode, Wolverine story. And the new one is called Wolverine: The Lost Trail, which follows on from that. It's a collaboration between Marvel and Stitcher. So if you kind of look online and go for Wolverine: The Long Trail, first one is absolutely brilliant. It's proper kind of radio play. So you've got multiple actors playing all the parts, and you've got sounds. So really, really worth listening to. Right, just see if there's any more connectors in any of these. I need the space for screws. I wedge too much into some of these and then can't get them out. Plus a couple of the shells are bent, which doesn't help. Right. Flanged brass inserts. Let's find out what size they are. M6. They could actually be very useful, but I'll find a better home for those than that. Right, so it gives me 9. I think some of the ones. Hi Phil, how are you? I'm just doing a bit of tidying, Phil. Literally at the moment what I'm just trying to do is generate a bit more space. I've been emptying Racco drawers, and I'm going to put screws into them. It's not really what I want to do. What I'd really like to do is have somewhere with boxes, set of boxes like this with screws in. What I might do is just keep a couple of the sizes that I use regularly in those, and the rest I'm just going to keep in kind of Racco and multi-drawer boxes, these sort of things. And one of the jobs I'll have to do is get everything labelled at some point. I've been labelling with just blue masking tape and ordinary masking tape. But the blue stuff is fine if it's in good position, but certainly up there, writing black on blue doesn't show up very clearly. So I need to find a source. I remember watching one of Laura Count's videos after where she was talking about the multicolored tape that she uses, and she'd been supported by some company that gave her just stacks of it. She's got more than she'll ever need to use, and I did look. She listed the kind of where it was from, and I did look after that video, and it's not cheap, the tape she uses. So I need to try and find something. I find ordinary masking tape peels up far too easily, even if you get the better quality. The blue masking tape doesn't. I need to find a way of making better use of the blue masking tape. Yeah, coloured boxes is fine, but coloured boxes means spending more money. I don't mind buying a bit of tape. It's going to stick and be better. But I'm sure, like you, Andy, I'm always trying to white markers. I didn't think of that. Tipp-Ex, I don't like Tipp-Ex, but yeah, you can get white markers. That's a good idea. Didn't think of that. That might show up nicely. Or silver Sharpie. I do need to get some silver Sharpie. Yes. Andy, you are brilliant. Yeah, I'm not as good at origami as you. I suppose if by the time I've done a stack of boxes, I would be. I've got little boxes. Oh, I've got a bunch of those, and I've got a bunch of these, which are quite good sized boxes. And although I'm getting rid of like the glass jars, I'm not going to get rid of some of the other ones that I've got. Right, I need to find a little something to write on. Go in there because that's in a jar. Hi, Chris. Have you made a decision about what you're doing about routers? Got glass jars or glass in the windows? Garrett from No More Sawdust was talking about he likes jars, and he's got plastic jars, lots of coffee ones, because I'd said yesterday about getting rid of the glass ones, and I do like glass jars being solid. And these, we went through a batch of getting Patek's curry paste before kids came along, or before we were eating the same food as the kids. And so I got a stack of those, and they were very, very useful. And they were exactly the same paste, same size as peanut butter and almond butter that we were buying at the same time as well. So I ended up with a stack. What was it? There it is. There's the peanut butter one. So essentially, well, not quite, but almost identical jars, same sort of dimensions. So those were quite a nice little find and very, very useful. But I do find, and this is one of the reasons I said to getting rid of them, the problem with these jars is that, particularly in an environment like the Tinkerage, where the temperature changes a lot over the year, they can become a bit stuck. And if you got that screwed onto something, you're trying to get your hand in between some other ones, and you're trying to kind of have to try and wrench. There's a good chance that actually I'm going to tear the lid at some point, or I'm going to just kind of tearing it and dropping it. Yeah, it's amazing what we do, isn't it? I'm just trying to fill my get my watch time up. I'm still at. I've had quite a few good subscriber increase lately. Jamie gave me a shout out on the weekend. I think I've gained like 20, maybe even 25, 30 in the past couple of days. Yeah, but then you end up with Vaseline on your hands. It's okay. Good night. Yep. It's lights out. It's lights out. So yeah, they get a bit stuck. And I've already kind of sent a few things flying more than once. And I just kind of worry that at some point it's gonna get really stuck on. I had I don't know what caused it, but about 7 years ago, I had something. I had problem with my hands. I had tests for carpal tunnel. I was struggling to pick up things and hold them, pick up the kettle, turn door handles, and whether I kind of hurt something, caught something in my neck, I ended up going to an osteopath, and kind of that helped quite a bit. But it made it really difficult to take things. I kind of, although grip is fine now, I was very concerned that could happen again at some point. And I thought of maybe a jar jammed in place, not something I particularly like. And like Andy says, particularly if you've got maybe kids trying to get things. A couple of times I've sort of said to my kid, "Oh, it's in one of those jars," and they go and get it, and they just can't turn them. If I'm struggling, and they're really going to struggle, and that's just kind of just poor show, really. Just got to decide what that's a good size in there. Just ripping the lids off to mark them. Yeah, so I'm intent on getting as much of the reorganization finished by the end of this month as I can to get it useful. But I'm not. If it's not done, then I will just carry on. But I've kind of set a target, and I'm hoping that by setting the target and making that public, it will drive me on. I've still got a few kind of decisions to be made. The biggest one being, those ones. Try and do this in kind of sort of size order. The biggest one being at the moment is the tape. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to put spare tape and specialist tapes into a drawer, and then kind of every day. Yeah, so 3 different sizes of masking tape, gaffer tape. Got some nice reinforced tape. Actually, that might go in the specialist drawer. And there you go, Chris. Gorilla. That and the Gorilla glue from the pack. It's the only Gorilla stuff I've got. The thing. Yeah, I'll take those out of there. Yeah, I'll fit in nicely. Yeah, you've got to do what's right, Andy. Yeah, get it. I wonder how long actually before, things like how to set up your own YouTube channel. The social media training in schools is mostly all about kind of, don't give out your personal details, don't give out information about yourself to strangers, and stuff about cyberbullying. But I really think it's time that there was things like how to set up a social media account, how to run it properly, what you shouldn't put on it, social media etiquette, not just kind of avoid, don't be nasty to people, don't be It's like last week my youngest was doing kind of in her English lessons. He had to write a formal letter, a very important skill even nowadays. But we should also be teaching how to do formal emails, and what is appropriate and not appropriate ways of communicating through social media. I hate it when that happens. Got a box, screws, and can't see what size the screws are. And I know that it's going to be an imperial size. It's a set of screws I inherited. They're interesting screws. They feel like they're an alloy rather than a steel. Let's just see if they are steel or not. I don't know, they are steel, not aluminium. But surprisingly light for this size. Slat wall panels, is that kind of sort of stuff that these in shops where you have almost like a T profile and you can kind of slot things in, so you've got hangers? Maybe I haven't I'm massively behind on video watching after Maker Central. On my I use one tab to keep on top of things. I don't use the watch list and in YouTube itself. So if there's pages I want to look at, they're not going to fit in there. I'm going to have to use other drawers. different technique for that one. That's a pain. I'm not a screw that I use very often. I inherited those, so the chance of me using those is pretty small. So yeah, I'm massively behind. I kind of reached a point where I'm trying to watch what's coming up new, but haven't caught up with the ones that I didn't watch in the kind of days before Maker Central. That's what I hate about dealing with sorting screws. I've just managed to slice my finger on one of these points. It's the other problem with these self-drilling. That and dropping them on the floor. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I spent kind of 20 years teaching up until kind of last year, and seen how computers have changed over that time, and the availability of computers and phones, and how kids have changed with it. And you're right, there's a lot of kids that are very computer savvy, but very innocent and naive. They can tell you how to connect a router up, and they can write scripts, but they're not necessarily aware of perhaps the less savoury side of what can happen with computers, and particularly the internet. And then there's you get maybe even some of the same kids. It amazes me that when kids get to secondary school, they won't necessarily have simple skills like, okay, I'm doing a Word document, and I'm writing my Word document, and I'm on the third page of my Word document, and I haven't yet saved it, and I look, the computer's crashed. And they haven't thought to actually kind of press save. So, yeah, the little things like that can be essentially what would have once been called ICT skills. ICT is often not taught in schools anymore because it's, there's the push for computing. And the ability to code. Hi, Dan. Yeah, I mean, the stranger danger is important. It's something we've talked about with our kids. And my kids, I've got a 13 and 15-year-old, they don't have social media accounts. I don't think they're that interested in them, to be honest. They see me on social media far too much and often complain about it, rightly so. And I mean, my eldest has got a mobile phone, but it's a brick. It's a dumb phone, and she's quite happy. She goes when she goes out to guides and the like, and some of her friends are on their smartphones, constantly on social media, and she'll just take out a pack of cards and go, anyone fancy a game of cards? And they kind of think it's quite unusual. I had a go at making French treats a while ago, Phil. My table saw was so badly set up. I've sorted it since. I thought, I had this piece of timber, and it was like 2 meters long. I thought, right, I'm just going to zip down 45 degrees down the middle of it, and I did that, and it was kind of, you take the sort of 3 sections. It was like a wave. I've still got the piece of timber somewhere, but it's felt like a use really. No, Phil, I've had to give up. Wife's gone back to teaching. And so I've taken over. I'm essentially house husband, and we homeschool. So I've taken over looking after the girls. But my back is not going to get better. It's at some point it will get worse, and then they will be able to give me some treatment. But at the moment, the treatment that they could give me, there's treatments that they can't give me because some haven't worked, and the next kind of one's along. If the first one didn't work, the next one won't. And so the next possible treatment would be surgery, fusion. There's multiple levels. Essentially, most of my lumbar discs are degenerating. So I'm able to keep it stable at the moment. I have to be careful with what I do. But regular driving. By the time I got up to Maker Central on the Friday, I was in quite a bit of discomfort, but I'd taken a pile of safe painkillers to try and get me through the day, and we'd had several quite long stops, so that was okay. The week after was a bit of a pain, excusing the pun. So essentially from a teaching point of view, I couldn't do a day in a classroom, and I'm essentially now unemployable from that point of view. So hence trying to get kind of become a content creator to hopefully one day earn a bit of money. Must get into blogging. I know that's something I've been toying with for actually several years now, and as Chris knows, I've kind of got very close. In fact, what I'm planning to do, because one of the concerns there with blogging, I want to get my own kind of website rather than just having one of the free ones. But I got given some birthday money to spend at Maker Central. I didn't spend that, and so the idea is that I'm going to use the money that I didn't spend at Maker Central, and that should pay for a year's, if I can find the right deal, a year's website for me. So hopefully by the end of the year, I would have in a situation where I can make it self-funding. So that's the idea. Bring back a digital tufty. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of issues with social media, isn't there? I mean, there's so many idiots around, just hide behind social media. When I first started my YouTube, and there's a lot of students found out about it. And particularly when I was first off ill, I was still doing YouTube stuff. I got basically told by my school, so that you're off work, we can't stop you doing it, but kids and their parents are asking questions about how you can be ill but still doing YouTube or Instagram. And so I had to kind of sort of put it on hold. So that's why last year, pretty much put nothing on YouTube at all. And it took quite a bit of time to get from a point of being in a lot of discomfort and not being able to do much at all to where I'm at now, where I can, if I'm careful and I know what I'm doing, I can manage most of the time. But then silly things will happen. I'll drop something in here, and or I'll trip over a curb, and that'll be an agony for hours, if not days. Good night, Andy. Yeah, Green Cross Code Mail. Crikey, that was big when I was in school. The whole looking after it, and yeah, the Tufty Club. There was all that sort of safety. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, Chris. I'm going to do a blog. It's the blogging group that we're both in on Facebook scares me at times. Some of the stuff that's being talked about is just like, I've got a clue what they're talking about. And it makes it sound like, much harder work than perhaps it needs to be. And maybe if it needs to be promoted properly, that is the case. But there's a lot. I mean, I have written titles for, I think 100. That's not going to fit in there either. 125, I think, if I remember rightly, posts. There's some that I'm going to have to perhaps put up on private or anonymous blogs. I've got some school ones. I think there's stuff I want to say about schools, but I have to be careful, not to annoy people. People that I know, people that are friends, and ex-colleagues. There's a pile of stuff. One of the things I'm looking at in terms of blogging is, can I set up almost like the digital Tinkerage or Tales from the Tinkerage, but then have kind of almost categories for, so like the food and cooking that I like to do as a separate kind of category, or should I set up a separate page for that? So kind of lots of decisions along those sort of lines that I still need to make. I've kind of caught myself in that trap of trying to overthink it and trying to make sure I get things right before I start. Whereas what I should do, like all of us for YouTube, is just to get started. Because ultimately that's how you're going to make progress, is actually getting started. And until you've made that start, you're not going to progress. I've had osteopath, chiropractor, acupuncture. I've had it all. I've had facet joint injections, but essentially it's a result of 25 years ago, industrial, I wouldn't say accident because it wasn't a one-off thing, repetitive heavy lifting. I used to work in quality control and research for a company manufacturing cement bonded particle board. So think chipboard, add cement and alum to it, and that's heavy. And when you've got 6x4 and 8x4 sheets and anything up to 100 kilos, we were moving on our own, and it wasn't so much the mass but the awkwardness. And so I slipped my bottom two discs, blew the bottom one apart totally. I was off work for 18 months. 2 months of traction, daily traction for 2 months. At one point, I had a nucleosis, which is something they don't do anymore, where they inject the disc with an enzyme made from papaya fruit, which shrinks the disc. And that did a good job. But then 20 years of teaching, because I didn't go back into industry, I gave that up and went into teaching. And the 20 years of teaching, 50-hour weeks, more at times. You've got maybe 20 hours in front of the students, but then you've got another 30 hours of paperwork, marking, planning. I spent 3/4 of my career in teaching, so 15 years plus, with positions of responsibility. So there's extra paperwork on top of that as well. And that's, sitting's the new smoking, they say. It's not good for you. So that, possibly with some poor genetics, combine that with an inclination when I was younger to run around mountains with heavy rucksacks on, and my back's a mess. So I've spent thousands on chiropractors and osteopaths. And the question is, Stephen, you're going to tell us what the alias is? See, we're not going to be able to follow your blog if you tell us, but then if you tell us, we're going to know who it is. Yeah. Now, so I'm happy to do quite a lot of the stuff, even a lot of the education stuff. My last position in teaching, part of it was looking at training non-specialists to teach physics. So there's a lot of stuff that I spent a lot of time with new teachers and trainee teachers. So there's so much kind of that I don't want the education system to lose. I don't know if that sounds kind of arrogant in some way, but I was very good at my job. I'd been the head of department for many, many years. And I've still got stuff that I'll lose if I don't share it. So I kind of want to share it. I've got opinions as well. Some of those opinions maybe I can't share in a medium where it's going to sort of maybe trace back to me. So some of that will have to be anonymous. I have thought about sort of Skype teaching, and not just third world. There's money to be made of it for tutoring. We've thought about maybe tutoring at home, but we've got a dog, and my wife teaches, so the thought of maybe kids from her school. I want to kind of turn. Oh, what school do you go to? No, I'm going to turn you away. So yes, it's a good school, and I know I could make a lot of money from it. And in fact, I used to work there, so I'm known. So we don't want to bring them in. We thought about maybe building a little office in the garden, which would be really good, because then I could have maybe like a 3D printer in there as well, and make it turn into a little, almost like Tinkerage, the digital Tinkerage. So kind of do the clean stuff out there as well as teaching, but that costs money to set up, and it could take time to do that. So I have thought about Skype tutoring. My concern with that is that sometimes, and actually with tutoring as a whole, is if my back plays up, I could make an appointment and then not be able to fulfill it. And then I've got people kind of going, either I'm looking unprofessional or I'm letting them down, and that would bother me. So at the moment, tutoring is not something we're taking as a step. I think if money gets really tight, then it might be something we might do. I have a friend in the States who does English teaching for Chinese, so it's all in English, American, and she earns some good money from that. She gets up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, so that time zones work out nicely. It's a possibility. I'd rather get this going. Right, good night, Chris. I'm not sure about that, great man. Discuss that some other time. Actually, what is the time? 20 past 11. I think I've run out of screws to. All the rest of the screws I've got are too big for those drawers up there. So, although I've got two different sizes, I do have these deeper ones, but these have more interesting things like, lots and lots of Allen keys and odd-shaped Allen keys. and spare solder and sealing wax to keep in our workshops. Yeah, it's the best way of staying anonymous, Steve. Don't share it with the people that might identify you. Asbestolux sheets, not something I've come across. The cement mold particle board, make the names, trade names it went under. Company changed hands. First of all, it was Pyroc, then PYROK, then it became Cape Boards. I know the factory that I was working at have closed down. It's interesting, actually. I've worked in 2 different companies in industry, and I went to 2 different secondary schools because of the way in my town the secondary schools were. There was 11 to 14, then 14 to 18, and both those secondary schools and both the companies that I worked at are now completely flattened and gone. I don't know if that was some. I don't just sort of a pattern there, but Cape, CAPE. So it's interesting material, pretty strong, much stronger than the equivalent thickness of. I wouldn't say plywood, but certainly kind of sort of chipboard. Very, very dense. I mean, 8x4 sheet of 18 mil was 100 kilos. 6x4 sheet of 6 mil was 30 kilos. Yeah, so it was pretty heavy stuff. Very fireproof. The thickest one they made, the biggest board they made, was 6x4 sheets of 40 mil thick. And they were like 400 kilos. But that stuff, yeah, it was one of the tests we did on that. It was used in electrical conduits, and also it was used. Well, I think it was a thinner one. It was used in making the Center Parcs cabins. It was incredibly fireproof. So one of the tests was take a burner, a head about that big, put it. There was a fixed distance. I think it was something like 4 inches. Like there was a mixture of imperial and metric in the British standard. From one side of the board, had to be a foot square, held in a steel frame. K-type thermocouples on each side, and you just set that with a big propane tank, and it would be burnt. You'd have a great big charred hole in one side, but you could still put your hand on the other side, even with the flame going. And that'd be like after 12 hours of burning to get it kind of 2/3, 3/4 of the way through, and you could still put your hand on. It was incredible stuff. But it was heavy, and the company wasn't only in the way that kind of chipboard is fibrous. So the cement was an issue. It took about 3 or 4 years after I'd left before cement stopped coming out of my sinuses. Every time I had a cold, yeah, it was pretty nasty stuff. I tried at one point having contact lenses, and it was like I couldn't put them in till finish on a Friday, and I'd be able to put them in on like a Sunday afternoon. So I'd get like half a day with contact lenses in, because just so much grit in my eyes and things. I don't know long-term effects on health of working there. I mean, certainly my back's buggered from it. Yeah, I got off luckier than some. There's one guy had his back broken. There was some very poor health and safety practices. There was some very poor management. Things had to be done rather than having to be done right. It's just not a good environment. I was young, and certainly didn't feel like you kind of go, no, I'm not going to do that. No. But it is what it is. It is what it was, and it could be worse. Right, I'm getting to a point where I think I probably need to go in. I've sorted as many screws off there as I can, so in fact I can empty that shelf, I think. Yeah, so I've now got an almost empty shelf there, which means I can probably put tape up there. Actually, I don't use big double-sided tape very often. So I think that's pretty much my tape storage sorted out. I probably won't bother with a. Now I've got that, it's just the right size for everyday tapes. I'm not going to bother with trying to make a holder. I shall just need to find a space in drawer for the more specialist tapes that I have here. At some point I'm going to have a go at Adam Savage's method of using kind of foil tape on wood to create realistic looking swords. It's plenty of tape for that. Right, gentlemen, ladies, if any ladies are watching, I am going to call it a night. Nearly an hour and 50 minutes. Need to get some sleep. Got a couple of things happening tomorrow. Tesco delivery first thing in the morning. Got to take the kids to an appointment mid-morning. And I want to, I've got to get, I still don't know what I'm going to do with all my finishes, all my tins of kind of oils and waxes. That just might be another decision to make, but I think that can wait till the morning. So thank you very much indeed for taking part. Thank you for the conversation. It's been really useful having people on board and enjoyable. Makes it time here much more fun. So have a good night, and I'll probably do a normal blog tomorrow, a normal vlog. We'll see how it goes. So keep an eye out, probably for a normal vlog tomorrow. Anyway, right, find the end stream button. Good night. Sleep tight.